of a government shutdown right now?
I don't know. You'd have to ask President Biden.
Every federal worker would be immediately furloughed.
What kind of impact could this have on the economy?
There is a great likelihood of a government shutdown come Saturday at midnight.
Thank you for choosing us tonight. Miller. Coming up in 21 Investigates, the government could shut down this weekend if Congress doesn't reach a deal. So what does that mean for you? We'll tell you in just moments. But we'll begin with the weather and Matt Leach. Matt, more rain today, but like we've been saying, we needed it.
Yeah, we have needed the rain, and I did want to go over some things to keep in mind as far as fall color is concerned, because we don't want it to be too wet, but also not too dry. So this is a pretty good pattern we're in right now.
Good.
And let's hope it can kind of stay that way. So again, we need it to be mostly dry and mostly sunny in order for fall color to be vibrant. And we're already about a week or so, about week and a half ahead of schedule. We tend to peak at about mid-October, so about the 15th to the 19th. But right now, we're already seeing enough color that I'm thinking perhaps early to mid-October, we could be right around peak. Now, of course, the farther north you go, the more you're going to be seeing the color earlier. So late September, early October. And then the farther south you go, more likely in November. But yes, locally, thanks to a dry summer and early fall, the fall color is a little bit ahead of schedule. Now, the almanac, 63 and 59, very fall-like day for sure. Those overnight low temperatures, though, didn't get very far. And as we talked about yesterday, the cloud cover is what's really kept things generally stable. So only warming by, what, 4 degrees over the past 24 hours? Pretty interesting. Now, 72 and 49 should be the range that we're looking at, but overnight low temperatures, again, about 10 degrees warmer than that. Record high, 89 degrees. We're not going to see any record highs over the next week, but we will see plenty of 80s, as you'll see in the 7-day forecast. Satellite and radar showing one little cell into southern Mercer County. You can see a little bit of lightning associated with that too, but for the most part, we're just seeing mostly cloudy skies, a little bit of drizzle, some low clouds, some scattered showers into far northwest Ohio. Steuben County seeing a little bit of light rain too. But the main story here again is just cloud cover with more scattered shower activity through western and central Indiana. Visibility, that's not too bad. It's actually improved over the past hour, down to about 7 miles in Angola, but otherwise between about 8 to 10 miles. Forecast tonight, though, shows some more low clouds and overnight low temperatures more or less where they were last night. Mostly cloudy with some showers and, yes, some patchy fog. Speaking of, here's a look at the visibility. We're expecting to see visibility between about 3 to 4 miles through the overnight. This is just after midnight. There could be some exceptions to this. There could be some areas like in Wells and Adams counties that see visibility a little worse than that. By about sunrise tomorrow morning, though, we could see visibility as low as a mile or less in most places outside of northwest Ohio. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes the First Alert Future Track can overestimate fog. It is notoriously difficult to predict, but it is looking like at the least the trend is that fog will be somewhat of an issue tomorrow morning before clearing away by the afternoon. I'd expect the same for Friday morning. Clouds, again, a few showers overnight tonight. Should be mostly drizzle and light showers. But look at tomorrow afternoon. Could see some clearing. Won't be a mostly sunny day by any means, but could still see enough sun breaks to call it partly to mostly cloudy. And then by Friday morning, starting off with more clouds, fog, drizzle, and then by the afternoon should see a little more clearing. Even though we're not in October yet, this is a pretty classic October pattern with more clouds and fog than the alternative. But as we head into October, we're actually going to see temperatures warm closer to late August, early September numbers. Here we are Friday afternoon, still looking at temperatures in the 70s. Saturday, in the upper 70s, and then by Sunday, I actually think we're going to make it into the 80s, at least about 80 degrees. And then Monday into Tuesday of next week, we should stay in the low 80s. And forecast models have been pretty consistent, keeping most of the heat well to our south, but keeping us just warm enough to be in the comfortable 78 to 82 range through probably the end of next week. It's looking like a pretty nice stretch of very warm, sunny, and dry weather. And after the rain we've received, it's going to help at least keep things generally pretty green, but also cause the leaves to continue to change their vibrant colors. So Friday, partly sunny, 75, 77, mostly sunny on Saturday. October begins on Sunday, and it'll be 80 degrees. Again, feeling more like August than October. Then we're back in the low 80s Monday through Wednesday. No real extremes to talk about. It's looking at least on the comfortable side of the above average temperatures, and this should extend all the way through the end of next week.
Sounds good. Matt, thanks. Let's take a look at the stories making headlines in 21 country and across the country. Here's what we know at 7. In Adams County, 3 people are facing drug charges after police served a search warrant at a home yesterday afternoon. Initially, Indiana State Police and officers from Fort Wayne went to a home on County Road 300 East in Decatur to serve an arrest warrant for Kane Vaughn on a probation violation. When police got there, they say Vaughn took off in a car, finally stopping in Monroeville, where officers took him into custody. Police searched the home and say they found drugs and guns. Mackenzie Vanloo of Rochester and Bernardo Garcia of Decatur were also arrested. A third person is now facing murder charges in the 2016 killings of 2 people. Allen County prosecutors formally charged Reginald Gant today. Last Friday, police announced a break in the case and arrested Gregory Robinson and Priya Witt. The video you're seeing now is from Fairfield Avenue along the riverbank, where police found Anton Moore's body in October of 2016. Police were first called to a home on Hartzell Road in New Haven that day. They found Jamie Klein's body inside. She'd been stabbed, and her death was ruled a homicide. Minutes later, police in Fort Wayne were called here to Fairfield Avenue, where they found Moore. Investigators learned Moore and Klein had been in a relationship. Gant is accused of shooting his friend in the back of the head, then helping stab Klein to death. The manhunt for a suspected killer accidentally released from an Indianapolis jail has come to an end. The Marion County Sheriff's Office says the U.S. Marshals Service captured Kevin Mason this afternoon in Minnesota. Mason was mistakenly released from a detention center on September 13th, just 2 days after he was arrested. The release was blamed on a faulty records review by jail staff. So far, no details of the capture have been released. 2 Marion County Sheriff's Office employees were fired after Mason was released. Several banks and credit unions are dealing with an ATM outage across the Midwest, including in Indiana. They're blaming the problem on unexpected issues with an external vendor. Lake City Bank is one of those affected. They recommend using other ATMs and say they will pay back any fees. Not only is this a nuisance, the owner of 9 Gigabyte Tech says it's an opportunity scammers might jump at.
When things like this strike, there are terrible things and people out there that'll say this is a great opportunity to take advantage of somebody's, data or find alternatives to get them to pay.
Gable says people will pretend to be your bank, say your payment didn't go through because of the ATM outage, and then ask for your bank information. So don't fall for that scam. We have more information on our website, 21alivenews.com. In recent years, there's been a big push for people to move to downtown Fort Wayne. One property that just hit the market is probably outside most people's price range, right? Our Amelia Miles took a tour of this multi-million-dollar condo.
Knew there was something here, but we had no idea to this extent.
As you're traveling down Washington Boulevard, right across the street from the Grand Wayne Center, you would never think a property worth more than $4 million sits right here. This property now sits on the market for $4.29 million.
On the main floor, it was the iconic Thirsty Camel bar, and up here was a reception area.
The building was built back in 1915, home to many things, but the most recent was the Thirsty Camel bar. It closed in 2018. James Reeser, the realtor for the property, tells me a family with 5 kids took on the project.
Well, they wanted to be downtown and couldn't find the right space, so they bought the entire building and, like I said, spent 2 years converting this into their dream residence.
A patio, a large living room, and even a 14-car parking garage in the basement. So how many bedrooms again?
5 bedrooms, 5.5 baths.
If you buy this property, you don't just get the 10,000 square foot condo. You also get the 2 commercial spaces downstairs, now being occupied by the New York dentist and Innovative Engineering Services. They put in these stairs after the fact, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Wow. Reeser thinks a buyer is out there.
So far, we don't have an offer in place, but the feedback has been that they're pleasantly surprised that Fort Wayne has these type of properties.
Amelia Miles, 21Alive News.
And if you'd like more information on the property, you can head to our website, 21alivenews.com, and find this article on it.
Shutting down the government isn't an effective way to make a point. Keeping it open is the only way to make a difference on the most important issues we are facing.
That's Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell today urging his colleagues to not shut down the government, saying from the Senate floor, the choice is pretty straightforward. Next in 21 Investigates, we're digging deeper into what the shutdown could mean for Americans. Lawmakers have fewer than 4 days to reach a deal that avoids a government shutdown. If they don't, ripple effects will be felt far beyond the 4 million Americans who will not get a paycheck. To get a better understanding of those effects, I'm here with 21Alive's national political editor and White House correspondent, John Decker. John, thanks for your time. Could you talk about how a shutdown affects Americans?
Well, it would have a very real effect for federal workers first and foremost. You have a government shutdown, given that there's no funding for the federal government. Every federal worker would be immediately furloughed. That's the reason why you have so many people who would essentially be out of work and not getting any money for all the things that they derive in terms of their living expenses. In addition to that, because there's no funding for the Department of Defense, military officials, service members would not get paid until there's an agreement to fund that particular department. And as it relates to border security, Border Patrol agents would not be paid during this period of time. Today we got a warning that this could ultimately affect air travel in this country as it relates to air traffic controllers not being paid for their work. So very real impacts that Americans would see all across the country if there is a government shutdown. And we're not even mentioning the fact that in addition to all that, every national park in the country would be shut down.
John, is there anything people, whether they're government employees or not, should be doing now to prepare?
What we've seen in prior years, that those workers who are furloughed and are told not to report to work, they ultimately, when there is an agreement, get back pay for all of the time that they were out of work. So that's good for them. What it's bad for, however, are contractors. Those contractors who are not federal employees who would also be impacted by a government shutdown. They are not reimbursed if there is a government shutdown, and that would also have a real impact on them.
Considering that, and then also taking into account the United Auto Workers who are on strike right now, we've even seen people in our community being laid off temporarily from their jobs as it relates to that. What kind of impact could this have on the economy when you have lots of people who aren't getting those paychecks and aren't spending money perhaps like normal?
Well, very real impacts on GDP, very real impacts on the economy. There was an estimate that was put out by a well-established economic firm that the cost to the economy just after 10 days of an auto strike would be $5 billion to the U.S. economy, and we're right about at that point right now. In addition to that, you want to put on top of it a government shutdown. That's more money that is not being spent in the U.S. economy. There is a great likelihood of a government shutdown come Saturday at midnight.
Okay. John, we appreciate your time and your perspective. Thank you so much for being with us here on 21 Alive News at 7.
Thanks, Krista.
Another major impact a government shutdown could have is on the agricultural industry. Reporter Molly Martinez explains.
One of the major pieces of legislation being held hostage by these negotiations is the Farm Bill. Lawmakers hammer out a new one every 5 years that addresses things like crop pricing, food safety inspection, nutrition assistance, even wildfire suppression. With harsh summer droughts threatening the grain belt, some farmers feel the government is leaving them out to dry.
What are the chances of a government shutdown right now?
I don't know. You'd have to ask President Biden.
Instead of much-needed handshaking, Washington is finger-pointing.
I don't think they understand that if we had a long-term shutdown, it would also compromise the SNAP program, which would impact and affect 41 million Americans.
With the fate of the Farm Bill in limbo, lifelines for farmers could be reduced to line items.
Obviously, there's crop insurance and some of the other commodity programs that are important. There's a whole host of conservation programs. There's rural development programs. It's a significant commitment to rural America. That needs to be done to provide the certainty and the clarity that folks are looking for.
For Minnesota farmer Matt Kurtz, who owns 200 acres with his grandparents, they're at the mercy of the market.
It's difficult the last couple of years with the volatility in the markets. you know, going $3 corn where we've seen highs of $7.50 corn.
Without set rules on crop insurance laid out by a new farm bill, they're as vulnerable as their corn.
Is this a sustainable industry anymore?
For a small guy, no.
Senate Agricultural Committee Chair Debbie Stabenow says that she doesn't expect a farm bill to be passed until December. That's a full 3 months after our current one expires on September 30th. In Washington, I'm Molly Martinez.
If you have any feedback on this story, or if you have something you think 21 Investigates should dig deeper into, we want to hear from you. You can use the QR code on your screen to submit a tip directly to our 21 Investigates team, or drop us a message any time of day on Facebook, X, or Instagram. We're back after this. In Michigan, 5 UAW members were hit by a car while picketing. Raven Blue has the story.
These people are just making a living and want a little bigger piece of the pie, and this happens. It's very disturbing.
5 picketing United Auto workers are recovering after being hit by a car around 4 Tuesday afternoon near the General Motors processing plant in Swartz Creek.
3 people in either a dark blue or a black HHR or possibly PT Cruiser came out of the building about 70 yards and was driving at a high rate of speeds, hit their brakes real quick and kept going, run over 5 people, and sent 2 to the hospital and 3 with other injuries.
Metro Police Chief Matt Beatty says officers were told that an employee from the plant was trying to leave and picketers were blocking the driveway. But UAW leadership says that is not the case and believe the driver intentionally struck their members.
Doing a very peaceful, legal demonstration, wasn't bothering nobody, wasn't blocking traffic, was allowing people to come in and out, the ones that had to come in, and there was no cause for this to happen.
This incident comes a few days after a fight broke out at the picket line in Centerline, where a man driving by allegedly shouted racial slurs and insults, and a woman in the same vehicle threw a drink on picketers.
Whenever you have a cross-section society, you have people that have issues. And unfortunately, they made some very serious, bad mistakes today, and justice will prevail.
As part of their investigation, police are working to collect video of what happened.
I just hope that these people turn themselves in. They're in enough trouble. They don't need to be running from the police.
UAW leadership says that this incident will not stop strikers from picketing to get what they deserve. In Swartz Creek, Raven Blue, WNEM TV5.
And next on 21Alive News at 7, Eric Olson joins us in this week's 21 Country. He takes us to a little gallery where there's something for everyone. Cities and towns across the country are decking themselves out in murals, statues, and other works of public art. And that public art movement is shifting into a higher gear out in 21 Country. Our Eric Olson reports.
In the shadow of City Hall in Garrett, Indiana, right by the big mural and fiberglass buffalo, a new attraction is beckoning passersby.
And you can take or leave art, something that either you made or somebody else made. You can place it in the box, you can take a piece out.
This strange little box is a flag, or free little art gallery, and it is just what its name implies. A miniature gallery showcasing real art, drawings and paintings and pottery, which the public is invited to take home and replace what they take with a new little piece of art.
And then in turn, maybe that'll inspire them to say, I've got something around my house, or I can draw a little picture and put it in the box.
The little gallery is one of 3 set up around 21 Country, all sponsored by the Garrett Museum of Art. This one graces the Tall Rabbit Coffee House on Calhoun Street in Fort Wayne. And this one, a fixture at the 9th Street Brew House in Auburn.
Is it noticed? Do people notice it?
Oh yeah, all the time. We get drawings, paintings, some ceramics. It's been really cool.
People come in for coffee and to exchange art?
Yeah.
The little art gallery is a part of a national public art movement, taking art out of stuffy museums and making it more accessible to the public, like the mural on the side of Garrett City Hall.
Everyone can be an artist. Everyone can get some pleasure from putting something in the box, but everyone can make art. Doesn't matter what it is.
And making it they are, new paintings and drawings, textiles and pottery, all coming to a little art gallery near you. Eric Olson reporting out in 21 Country.
He's such a fantastic storyteller, that Eric Olson. There are little free libraries, little free greenhouses too that we've featured. So a lot going on in our communities here in 21 Country. Well, that's all for us tonight on 21Alive News at 7. But before we go, we want to show you what reporter Alex Knoll is working on for tonight on 21Alive News at 11.
Krista, earlier today, more than 30 people rappelled down from the top of the Heller Homes building here in downtown Fort Wayne, all part of an annual fundraiser. Now, despite the rain, the wet conditions didn't dampen the spirits of the folks participating as they raised money for the United Way of Allen County, money that will go towards finding solutions for community issues. The folks I spoke with said it was quite nerve-wracking, but a great adrenaline rush. Hear more about their leap of faith tonight in my full report at 11.
News.
Right now on 21Alive News at 11, a probation violation turns into new drug charges after police say a suspect led them on a chase. Plus, farm experts say a government shutdown could hurt Indiana farmers. We'll tell you what that expert and farmers have to say. Good evening. Welcome. I'm Krista Miller. It's 11 o'clock and we have your latest local news, weather, and sports right now.
From WPTA, this is 21Alive News at 11.
And we begin with a live look across Fort Wayne today. Looks like a little bit of fog, kind of a soggy pattern that we've been in, but we want to know when we will dry out. So we begin with Chief Meteorologist Matt Leach. Hi, Matt.
Hi, yeah, you talked about the fog, some of the low clouds. That's going to be something we'll deal with here for the next maybe couple nights, and then we'll more consistently dry out. It's been a soggy 48 hours. Some areas receiving about an inch or more of rain, others about a quarter of an inch. It's hardly equitable. Usually we see just kind of these sporadic amounts of higher than normal values. But again, for the most part, I'd say an average has been about a quarter to half an inch of rain overall. Again, some a little bit higher, some lower. 6 miles, though. That's the visibility in Fort Wayne. 2.9 in Auburn, though. We're down to 7 miles in Portland, Byrne 4.3, and you can actually see some of that fog developing in and around Van Wert. I'd expect that 9 miles to actually go down probably by several miles within the next hour or so. Taking a look at kind of where we are as far as the radar is concerned, well, some more scattered showers, drizzle, low clouds. We're not going to be seeing much heavy rain for the rest of the evening, and temperatures should remain pretty steady in the upper 50s to low 60s. But tomorrow, well, although we'll see a few scattered showers and some fog early, we should see enough clearing for at least a few sun breaks. We'll talk about that and 80s in the 7-day forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Matt, thanks. The manhunt for a suspected killer accidentally released from an Indianapolis jail has come to an end. In a Facebook post, the Marion County Sheriff's Office said the U.S. Marshals Service captured Kevin Mason this afternoon in Minnesota. Mason was mistakenly released from a detention center 2 weeks ago, just 2 days after he was arrested. The release was blamed on a faulty records review by jail staff. 2 sheriff's office employees were fired. 3 people faced drug charges after police served a search warrant at a home in rural Adams County yesterday. Police were looking for Kane Vaughn, who they say violated his probation. Indiana State Police and Fort Wayne Police went to a home on Decatur on County Road 300 East in Decatur. When they got there, they say Vaughn took off in a car and led them on a chase. The chase ended when police caught Vaughn in Monroeville. Police say they found drugs and guns while searching Vaughn's house. They also arrested Mackenzie Vanloo of Rochester and Bernardo Garcia of Decatur. Customers of several banks and credit unions are having a difficult time getting cash. There's an ATM outage across the Midwest, including in Indiana, affecting several of them. The banks and credit unions blame the problem on an unexpected issue with an external vendor. Lake City Bank is one of those affected. They recommend using other ATMs and say they'll pay back any fees. We talked to a technology expert who warns this is an opportunity scammers could jump at.
When things like this strike, there are terrible things and people out there that'll say this is a great opportunity to take advantage of somebody's, data or find alternatives to get them to pay.
We have more information on this story on our website, 21alivenews.com. The Allen County Public Library is partnering with Super Shot to offer free flu shot clinics in October, 3 of them. Anyone 6 months and older can get a flu shot. They also plan to offer updated COVID vaccines as soon as they get them. Super Shot Executive Director Connie Heflin insists vaccines are a safe and affordable way to protect yourself.
It's like wearing your seatbelt. You never know when you're going to come in contact with the flu. You never know when you're going to get an accident. So when you put your belt on, your seatbelt on, it's just like getting a shot. You're putting your seatbelt on and you're protecting yourself against getting the flu this season.
The clinics will be held Wednesdays in October. The United Way of Allen County is reaching new heights with its annual Over the Edge fundraiser. Reporter Alex Knoll is here to explain.
Krista, in an effort to raise money for the local nonprofit, some Fort Wayne neighbors spent their afternoon sending themselves literally over the edge. Rappelling down a 10-story building seems scary enough, but add in some bad weather, that'll get your adrenaline pumping.
Standing up there looking down is crazy ridiculous. It's high. It's really high up there.
Jill Brown was one of more than 30 people who rappelled down the side of the Heller Homes building Wednesday. Brown loved the experience, but only after she felt both her feet touch the pavement.
It was awesome. Awesome. The ground is fabulous.
Despite the euphoria Brown felt after touching down, she didn't necessarily feel like jumping at the opportunity again anytime soon.
It was great, a great experience. Will I do it again? No.
The rain, of course, made conditions tough. But United Way of Allen County CEO Rob Hayworth knew these folks were determined to go down.
If you've got the courage to rappel down the side of the building, I don't think a few raindrops are going to stop you today.
With the pouring rain, slick conditions, and gallery watching, it all added up to an opportunity that was
once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime.
All of this, of course, was to raise money that will go towards finding solutions for community issues like homelessness, food insecurity, and education. To learn more about the United Way of Allen County, you can find more information on our website, 21alivenews.com. Krista.
Alex, thanks. There's more to come on 21 Alive News at 11. Police in Michigan are looking for the driver who hit 5 picketers outside a GM plant. And a looming government shutdown is worrying Indiana farmers. What an expert and farmers are saying. The United Auto Workers Union could expand its strike against the big 3 automakers. UAW President Shawn Fain is expected to make an announcement Friday morning at 10 in a video addressing union members. We're told additional walkouts will take place at noon on Friday. 5 UAW members in Michigan are recovering after they were hit by a car while picketing. Reporter Raven Blue has more.
These people are just making a living and want a little bigger piece of the pie, and this happens. It's very disturbing.
5 picketing United Auto Workers are recovering after being hit by a car around 4 Tuesday afternoon near the General Motors processing plant in Swartz Creek.
3 people in either a dark blue or a black HHR or possibly PT Cruiser came out of the building about 70 yards and was driving at a high rate of speeds, hit their brakes real quick and kept going, run over 5 people, and sent 2 to the hospital and 3 with other injuries.
Metro Police Chief Matt Beatty says officers were told that an employee from the plant was trying to leave and picketers were blocking the driveway. But UAW leadership says that is not the case and believe the driver intentionally struck their members.
Doing a very peaceful, legal demonstration, wasn't bothering nobody, wasn't blocking traffic, was allowing people to come in and out, the ones that had to come in, and there was no sense, no cause for this to happen.
This incident comes a few days after a fight broke out at the picket line in Centerline, where a man driving by allegedly shouted racial slurs and insults, and a woman in the same vehicle threw a drink on picketers.
Whenever you have a cross-section society, you have people that have issues. And unfortunately, they made some very serious, bad mistakes today, and justice will prevail.
As part of their investigation, police are working to collect video of what happened.
I just hope that these people turn themselves in. They're in enough trouble. They don't need to be running from the police.
UAW leadership says that this incident will not stop strikers from picketing to get what they deserve. In Swartz Creek, Raven Blue, WNEM TV 5.
A statement from GM about those 5 people says they think the picketers were hit by a car belonging to a housekeeping contractor. The statement reads in part, the health and safety of all employees is General Motors' overriding priority. Any employees who experience picketers blockading entry or exit to our property should contact site security to help them safely proceed past the picketing employees. GM says they're cooperating with police to help find the driver. Kurt's Produce is celebrating its 40th anniversary with a corn maze dedicated to Community Harvest Food Bank. Community Harvest takes excess produce from Kurt's and gets it to people who need the fruit and vegetables. Kurt's is giving attendees $1 off admission to the corn maze if they bring a non-perishable food item to donate. The corn maze and You Pick Pumpkin Patch open on Friday. Congress has just days to avoid a government shutdown, and if they don't, there will be ripple effects. A shutdown could cause progress toward the next farm bill to stop, and some Indiana farmers are worried. George Mallett from our sister station in South Bend has details.
If the federal government shuts down, progress toward the next farm bill comes to a grinding halt. In a matter of weeks, farmers will be harvesting their crops. At the same time, the feds will be doing assessments impacting farm subsidies going forward. Jeff Burbrink is an ag extension educator based in LaGrange.
That's all going to come to a stop. So if this thing goes on for a week or 10 days or 2 weeks or a month, all that just gets postponed and crammed into, you know, however much is left of the year.
Here on Deer Grove Farms, just outside of Middlebury, there is already a healthy skepticism about our federal government, and the possibility of a federal shutdown is only adding to the frustration. Barry Kaufman is the self-reliant farmer who runs this place while largely eschewing federal assistance. Still, he's downright steamed about the gridlock on Capitol Hill.
Both sides have got a lot of problems, and they need, I don't know if we need to start over, throw them all out and start over. Maybe that's the best thing, because some of them are so ingrained in the political, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, that let's just get rid of those people so that we're working for the people again, because they're not working for us anymore.
Jeff Burbrink points out that agriculture is only a small part of what the USDA does. The department also funds food pantries and assistance programs that could shut down in days.
You just hope that people can get along with each other and realize that there are people out there dependent upon the actions in Washington.
There's more to come on 21Alive News at 11 as we look at national headlines. Republican frontrunner Donald Trump skips the GOP debate for a second time. And Chief Meteorologist Matt Leach has our first alert forecast when we come back, talking about when we'll dry out. Seven Republicans running for president took part in a second debate tonight in California. But the man who leads by a wide margin, former President Donald Trump, once again skipped it. Here's Garrett Hake.
Tonight, the Republican frontrunner again ignoring a Republican presidential debate.
They ought to stop wasting their time. You know, they're wasting a lot of time with these ridiculous debates that nobody's watching.
Donald Trump instead set to campaign 2,000 miles from the GOP face-off. Addressing an audience including auto workers in Michigan, some currently on strike, just one day after President Biden walked a UAW picket line. Our poll showing the Trump-Biden race is a dead heat, while the former president leads the Republican field by more than 40 points nationally, all before his rivals take the stage. How hard will Mr. Trump's rivals hit him tonight? Some already telegraphing plans to take sharper aim at the frontrunner.
He's running in 2024 on a lot of the same promises he ran on in 2016 and didn't deliver on. He said he was going to drain the swamp. They didn't drain the swamp at all.
And with the debate taking place at the Reagan Presidential Library, is this now Trump's party?
He's embracing some of the language of the populist right, to talk about appeasement on the world stage, drawing back from our commitments to our allies.
Can breakout stars from the first debate like Nikki Haley have a repeat performance?
You have no foreign policy experience, and it shows.
And you know, all as Republican voters grapple with a runaway frontrunner still dividing the party, even when he doesn't show up.
I'm hoping that Republicans realize that the Trump era is over.
If he's convicted and he wins, put the Oval Office in whatever prison they have him in.
The judge overseeing Trump's federal election interference case will not recuse herself. Trump's lawyers had requested U.S. District Court Judge Tanya Chutkan recuse herself due to comments she made in criminal cases against other January 6th defendants. She wrote in her opinion today that she's never taken the position that former President Trump should be prosecuted and imprisoned. Trump's trial is set to begin next March. He pleaded not guilty during a court appearance in early August. This case is one of 2 federal cases being prosecuted by special counsel Jack Smith.
Now, your 21Alive First Alert forecast.
Okay, time to talk about the weather. And Matt, we've had a lot of rain. It's felt like it.
Yeah, well, some areas have seen 1 to 2, maybe even a little more than 2 inches of rain. Others about 1/4 of an inch. So it just kind of depends. We'll take a look at a map and you'll see exactly who's seen the most and who's seen perhaps the least. But as we take a look outside, you can see some of these low clouds and fog kind of settling over the city. Believe it or not, visibility is actually not too bad yet locally, but there are some spots already seeing some reduced visibility, and it's not likely going to get better. 62, east wind at 5, we're essentially calm, and look at the high humidity, 93%. So it makes sense that we're looking at a developing foggy situation here tonight, and it's that time of year too. From late August through, well, essentially mid to late October, we tend to really see some of our first real foggy months up until the winter, when you can almost expect it every other night. But this is when we start to see the fog return after summer, which usually we don't have too many issues dealing with foggy mornings in the summer months. 3-mile visibility in Angola, 2.9 in Auburn, still at 9 in Van Wert, but I also still believe that you can see some of the contours here on the map. This indicates that fog is building in northwest Ohio, so that number is likely going to go down to 4.3 in Bern and 7 miles in Portland and Huntington. So everybody's going to see a little bit of that for the next hour or two, but into tomorrow morning, closer to sunrise, that's when I actually expect some pretty widespread fog. I don't necessarily believe that everybody's going to be under a mile, as Future Track is showing, but this is at least a trend to take note of. I always say, especially with this particular map, focus perhaps less on the number and more on the trend. And we are seeing perhaps more widespread than patchy fog developing here overnight. And then by Thursday afternoon, we should be back to clear conditions. And then Thursday night to Friday morning, we're back to some of that fog again. So something we're going to battle here for the next couple mornings with the humidity and light wind. That's really what ends up driving a lot of this, is the moisture. The dry days we've had most of the summer and even into the early fall, we haven't really had too many ingredients come together for foggy mornings, but this is where things are changing a little bit. Rain showers already ongoing into our northern counties. Areas that have actually seen quite a bit of rain. Northwest Ohio could use a little bit more. Rainfall totals showing the last 48 hours that Northwest Ohio is actually the only region in the viewing area that has really struggled to see more than maybe about 1/4 of an inch. And any areas that have seen more than that have been the exception, really. You can see from Steuben County through Allen County down through Grant County, these are spots that have been seen closer to about 1 inch, give or take a little more, a little less. But lots of splotches here showing some of the brighter colors, which would indicate a healthier rain. Current temperatures, low 60s in Fort Wayne. We will likely see temperatures hover around the low 60s here overnight. Future Track showing we might even see a little bit of clearing, which would only add to the moisture transport, and that would then increase the fog availability tomorrow morning. By tomorrow afternoon, we should see a little bit of clearing. Could also still see a few exiting showers. Tomorrow will be the last day, really, of this kind of back and forth pattern of some showers and then a few sun breaks. By Friday, things are actually looking dry. We should start off the day with some clouds and maybe a little bit of fog, but as you can see, things are kind of burning away pretty quickly by the afternoon on Friday. It's still that time of year where you can actually depend on the fog lifting before about lunchtime. Now, when we get deeper into November and December, sometimes the fog can last all day. Extended forecast, 72 and 49. So we're still seeing average high temperatures in the low 70s. And that's where we're going to be more or less tomorrow. Warmer nights, of course, with the clouds, but we will see temperatures more or less at about the low to mid 70s Thursday into Friday. Partly sunny, though, Friday, and then mostly sunny Saturday, Sunday. Temperatures getting closer to 80 on Sunday. Low 80s likely Monday through Wednesday, with overnight lows in the upper 50s just as we begin October.
Sounds good, Matt. Thanks. Coming up in sports, we check in with the Purdue-Fort Wayne women's basketball team and the coach who's helped breathe hope into this program.
Well, we are going to be seeing some fog late tonight into tomorrow morning. And then, well, a few scattered showers tomorrow, but less rain tomorrow than we've seen the past couple days. Partly sunny Friday, 75. We're back to the 80s Sunday through the first several days of October.
Sounds good, Matt. Thanks. And finally from us tonight, our own Linda Jackson was honored at the Follinger Foundation. She received the 2023 David Babilia Excellence in Nonprofit Leadership Award. Linda is the board chair of Aaron's House for Grieving Children. They'll also receive a $25,000 operating grant for that. Linda said she was so surprised, and you can see the video there. So deserving. And you can watch Linda and Heather Herron weekdays at 4, 5, and 6 here on 21 Alive News. Thanks for being with us at 11. Have a good night.